Hey there, Mama. It's so good to have you tuning in today. I have been thinking the last several days about that famous motherhood saying that the days are long, but the years are short. And I just wonder what that phrase evokes for you. Does that provide you relief? Like when you're in a difficult season with your kiddo, that even though it feels challenging in the day to day, that there's going to be this like sweetness that is to come even when it's difficult and that it goes by so quickly. So just try to savor it even when it's hard and look forward to the good that's coming. Or does it feel like anxiety producing and stress producing for you that the time is just going by and you're seeing your little one not be so little anymore and take on new life experiences and adventures? And so maybe you have like the opposite desire, which is to slow things down and not let it speed up so quickly. It seems to me like both responses are reasonable for that days are long, but the years are short phrase. And in this episode, we're going to talk about why time seems to speed up in this season of life. And we'll talk about some things that I've been doubling down on in my own practice and that I'm guiding the mentoring community, Vibrant Mom Collective, to consider on how we can simplify our focus and lean into strategies that make life feel richer. Friends, I am literally dumbfounded that we are in the last month of 2025. I was just looking at a notification I got for a dentist appointment this morning and it said, 12 slash, and I was like, wait, 12 December, that's like at the end of the year. And I could not believe that we were actually in the month that dentist appointment was referring to. And it got me curious, like, why does time seem like it's flying by much more quickly than it used to? Is it because we're getting older? Is it because life and the pace of modern life is faster than it used to be? Is it because so much of our work lives inside of a screen and we're kind of in that like high demand, high stimulation, quick information age? Is it that time feels faster for parents with kids living at home versus if they're just with adult children? Like, what is this concept of time and why does it feel like it's going so fast for so many of us? And then right next to that why, I've been thinking deeply about, and what can we do about it? Because that time slipping away through our fingers, feeling like things are going by too quickly, and we're longing for a simpler life that feels richer and fuller, not moving in that direction and learning how to slow things down. I think that we will maybe have some regrets if we can't get a handle on how to bring deeper fulfillment and simplicity and a slowed down pace. So if you're with me on this episode is for you. I can't wait to dive in together. I was thinking about the average day in the life of a working mom. There's a blur of morning to-dos, getting yourself ready, getting your kiddos ready, getting your work ready. There's so much that we're trying to squeeze into and pack into the morning. So the morning is a blur. And then we get to school drop-offs, making sure that our kids have everything they need to be comfortable during the day. And then we orient immediately to the meetings we have, the projects we want to finish, and the components of our Zoom calls and phone calls and computer work that we need to do the fulfilling, I hope for you, but meaningful work and important work if it's putting food on the table for your family. And then it seems like most working moms go right from that full on work day to getting ready to pick up the kids, dinner prep, homework, reading, playing. Like evenings are also kind of full on. And most moms I talk to, it's either the mornings that are like the biggest pain point or the evenings, just like count down till bedtime, that are the most challenging part of the family part of your workday. And then especially as it gets darker, we're just kind of like moving toward bedtime and trying to squeeze out any of the time with ourselves, time with a partner, time in that we can possibly get before it's time to sleep and then do it all over again. So it's no wonder that the days feel really long and full. I often feel like I live like at least two different lives in one day, like the work life and the home life. But even with that kind of full on and full hearted pace of a working mom's schedule, we still want to make our days feel richer, feel like we've really lived them, we're enjoying them, we're savoring them, and we're not just rushing to the next thing all the time. So even in the middle of the chaos, let's unpack this. Let's figure out how to find deeper fulfillment and slow that pace down a little bit. I think that what most moms I talk to, and I certainly long for, either just kind of quietly on the inside or out loud at book clubs and girls' nights, is the feeling of really being present to our kids, especially the good parts that we're enjoying about their age and phase as they're growing up. I think there's this like acute awareness that time is precious and that pretty soon they're going to be in that next phase, whatever that is. And there's this kind of grieving and nostalgia for what we're enjoying right now or what we have enjoyed about earlier stages. And so what we really are wanting is the ability to notice and savor and appreciate our kiddos for who they are in this phase of life. We're also longing to feel more present and energy and emotionally available while we're doing the mundane tasks like cooking and laundry, while we're driving carpool, while we're helping with homework or sitting on the ground and playing Legos, or just whatever part of our day with our families that sometimes feels a little bit more tedious and challenging. I know that all of us would like to feel just a little bit more relaxed and available during that time. And then we also want to savor what feels like and what probably is those fleeting moments, those really special times of laughter or joy or connection, like sweet bedtime story sharing or end of the day debriefing or special weekend outings or fun conversations in the car. We don't always have those kind of beautiful fleeting moments, but when they're there, we really want to be able to savor them and kind of lock them away and use them as energy and fuel for deeper fulfillment. I think we also want a strategy for how to get through the difficult times. I think one of the hidden culprits for time speeding up is that when our kiddo is going through a difficult time or they are highly emotional or have attitude or there's just like a lot of tension or they're going through something that feels intimidating or overwhelming to us, or we just kind of have a long trudgery of work-related tasks that we need to get through. Or maybe our kiddo is a part of an extracurricular that we value, but just we're at the end of it. And it's like, it feels like the lacrosse season or the dance recital prep season. It's just getting too long and we're ready for our schedule to ease up. I think that in those really common, ordinary, everyday moments, one of the strategies we use to cope with that discomfort is to forecast in our minds and in our schedules and our calendars when it's going to get easier. So we think, okay, well, when they get this age, hopefully they'll outgrow that. When we get to the end of this month, we'll be done with that commitment. When we get to the end of this week, then we can relax and be at the weekend. And that future casting to when it's going to get easier, when we hope it's going to get easier, I think is a way that we kind of motivate ourselves and keep ourselves lifted and kind of stay hopeful and balanced. And I don't think that there's anything overtly wrong about that strategy, but I think that strategy alone has a hidden consequence to it, which is that life is speeding up and we want to fast forward through the difficult parts. But when we do that, we end up losing out on the really beautiful connected parts that we could find deeper contentment and fulfillment in if we weren't pushing that fast forward button. So, what I'm working through in my mind and heart, and I'm offering for you all today, is that the goal isn't to actually slow down time, it's to weave in intentional moments or practices in our day, in the everyday ordinary, that make our lives feel richer and more memorable, where we can soothe the difficult parts as skillfully as possible, but maintain a presence and availability to the things that feel really enjoyable and beautiful in the everyday. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, Cara, that sounds so great. I would love to slow down and savor everything, even in the middle of my really busy, crazy workday, or even in a season where things are really difficult for my kiddo, or I'm feeling really down, or I'm feeling really anxious about XYZ in life. I can't take extra time for myself. I'm juggling work, kids, errands, especially at the end of the year. That to-do list is like pretty big usually as we're trying to wrap up work and get the holidays set in the way that we prefer. So it can feel daunting and just like another to do on your to-do list, which is overwhelming to think about how to get that feeling of time slowing down, to get that feeling of our lives not being a race to run and a set of to-do lists accomplished and a set of experiences to check off the list, but something that just feels more lived in and spacious and authentic and easeful. So if you're wondering, I don't know how I'm going to take extra time for myself, hang in with me. I have some ideas about that for you. And then also, if part of this culprit of what is making time feel like it's going by so fast is the kind of screens and digital world that we live in, and if you're thinking like screens are everywhere, I cannot unplug fully. I have a life and a business and a family to run. I get you. I get you. We've got to find a way to live with what is modern life without detaching from modern life, but without letting some of the technology norms take away our feeling of joy about experience the real life. And if you're starting to feel like shame or guilt, like, oh, I'm so bad at this, like I'm always multitasking, I'm never present, I'm having a really hard time tolerating the difficult parts with my kid, I just want to say, I see you. You are not alone. Most mothers are under a pretty constant demand for their attention. We're feeling fragmented and pressured to multitask and feeling like we're doing that really well sometimes and then have a crash at other times. Yeah, I think all of that fragmented attention and pressure to multitask does contribute to time feeling faster. And mama, I think there's ways that we can combat that and sink into something deeper together. I got a little bit geeky while I was thinking about and researching this why is time going faster topic. And I have a couple of ideas for you. So, one is called the proportional theory. And so, what that theory in a nutshell says that when you're 10 years old, a year feels like 10% of your life. That's a really big amount of time. But at 40 years old, it's just 2.5% of your life. That goes a whole lot quicker. So each year becomes a smaller slice of your total experience. So knowing that if you're nearing your 40s or in your 40s as a mom, you're going to really feel acutely how each year is just a tiny fraction now of this one life that we have to live. And then let's layer on that what we understand and know about the human brain. So the hippocampus needs focused attention to form long-term memories. So as a mom, I think your attention is fragmented by the never ending kind of tabs open on your desktop that represent school logistics and work emails and meal prep and researching something your kiddo is going through. I think our attention is also fragmented by the nature of the Zoom meetings and the batching our writing work and then all of the different things that we need to do in our work life to make it work. We jump from like text notifications to meeting alert notifications to a block on our calendar notification to anticipating how much time we have left to squeeze in as many things as possible before we pick up our kids. And then when we're at home, there's usually the cleaning and the sibling conflicts and the kind of load of all the things that we're doing that ends up fragmenting our attention and also requires routine multitasking, which we know from brain research that we encode fewer long-term memories when we're multitasking. So like scrolling on your phone while your kid is having a little downtime or nap time, suddenly 20 minutes are gone and you can't recall what exactly happened during that time. It's like that time went by in a blink. And then we don't actually end up remembering that day in our long-term memory because it ended up being so full of multitasking and fragmented attention that it didn't mark as something substantial. So a key point here is that fewer kind of encoded long-term memories equals a sense that time is slipping away, that it's going by really quickly. Another contributor to time feeling like it's just flying by, maybe in a way that we don't want, is that when we are entrenched in our daily routines so deeply and without intention, what we're doing for our brain is just a lot of repetition. And that also, just that repetition, nothing novel, nothing new equals that less memory encoding factor as well. So when family life is the same every day, morning routine, school, after school activities, homework, dinner, bath, bedtime, the weeks start to kind of blend together in our minds. And we have such reduced attention spans based off of our technology. So I think as a society, we're really struggling with that, like really rich thinking, deep thinking, attentiveness to our lives. And that makes time go by really quickly. And it also kind of erodes a sense of deeper fulfillment and enjoyment in our lives. We're just looking for overtly spacious or joyful things in our calendar versus feeling that way more of the time. I know I struggle with this and I've thought deeply about it to help myself. And I hope some of the solutions here really work for you as well. So, the antidote or part of the answer to how to feel like the years aren't going so fast and that we can really slow down and savor life as it's unfolding has to do with simplifying your focus in the normal, everyday life to include attention on presence, novelty, and memory rich living. When we're talking about cultivating presence, I think it's a balance of two key concepts relevant to today's episode. As you're looking into your plans and your daily routine as the 2025 ends and 2026 starts to come into view, I encourage you to do a little bit of reflection on how many things for yourself, for your work, for the family, and for your kiddo you're trying to incorporate each month and see if there's a way to prioritize and simplify your commitments so that you're able to have a little bit more energy in the tank to focus on being present. So one thing that takes us out of presence is the pressure that comes with a pretty full schedule. So even though the schedule might be always relatively full in this season of your life, I can guarantee that if you and I were to have an open and honest conversation, there could be a couple of things that you might care about, but that you'd be willing to take off of your plate for just a few months to see how it helps to simplify and give you a little bit more bandwidth for greater presence. The other part of presence that I think it would be wise to tune into today, Mama. Join me in this because I'm doing it as well. is to look for the pockets of time in a normal everyday and see where you can use these transitional pockets of time to not get one extra thing done on your to-do list, to not check your phone, to not respond to all the things that need to be responded to, but to actually take 60 seconds to 5 minutes to do a simple kind of body based off of a screen activity that helps you to feel embodied in your body as a human out in the world. So it could look like just standing up from your desk and getting a glass of water and looking out the window, taking several deep breaths and taking 5 minutes to drink your water and trying to get your mind to slow down and transition from anticipating what's next to spending just a little bit more time with yourself in the moment. And if you follow this podcast or if you jump into the Vibrant Mom Collective, you're going to know all the things that I would like you to do in those times to improve your emotional well-being, to have vibrant midlife health practices. And then we're talking today about just finding a moment of presence so that you can feel a little more fulfilled in your day to day. You might notice a bird out the window. You might notice you have time to make yourself a snack. You might notice that you have a moment to write a note to somebody and send it in a way that feels less task oriented and in a way that just feels like, oh, this person's an important part of my life. I'm so glad I took a moment to record a little voice memo or to write them a note so that we can stay connected. I think finding ways every hour or two or three to just slow down, get in your body, and then do something that to you symbolizes a connected and fulfilling life is worth the time that you took out of the stream of consciousness and stream of demands at work. We also want to consider adding some tools to our toolkit when we're thinking about the rigors and challenges of parenting or of just change and growth and relational or emotional things we're going through, that if we can learn how to be more present with those things rather than future casting when we're going to feel better, if we can get some tools to help us be more present, even to the painful moments of our lives, that will help us to not continually be fast forwarding the difficulty and therefore decreasing our fulfillment and making our life seem like it's going just a little bit too fast. Okay, the second thing we need as human beings for deeper fulfillment and to slow down time is novelty. So one thing that helps our brain to kind of lock into and encode and store those long-term memories is novelty. So novelty has to do with something that feels very new, out of the ordinary, different. Doesn't even have to be enjoyable. It just has to spark a sense of that was unusual. I've never done anything like that. Or, yeah, I don't think I would repeat that, but that was really interesting. I'll definitely remember that for a little while. I find this one to be the hardest in just the rigmarole of working parenthood. We get this on vacation or when we go out of town, there's always a new coffee shop to go to or something new to see. That feels a little bit easier to weave in. But I do think that artful living and intentional living as a mom looks like finding ways, maybe not every day, but certainly every week, to bring in just a little bit more novelty into the day. And this should be something that you think about doing in a small way for yourself, or maybe your kiddo would enjoy partnering with you. It can be something that you do together with your kid. You could even just drive a different route on the school drop off and talk about it with your kiddo, or if you don't normally take an evening walk, take an evening walk. Do something a little bit different in your evening routine. Or if you do take an evening walk, take a different route. Think about doing things that bring a little bit more joy, just a little bit of something new and different into your world. And I always hesitate when I'm giving advice about adding things into our days when our days feel so full. So rather than thinking about doing something additional, maybe just think about something that you would already be doing it, but just a different way to do it that might bring a little silliness, a little novelty, a little difference into your day. It could be even as something as simple as asking a friend for a book recommendation in a genre that you don't normally access, and then enjoying just taking in something new. That happened for me in a book club I was a part of recently, that there was this like science fiction book that we were invited to read that month. And it's not a book that I normally would have read, but I chose to download it on Audible so that I could just listen to it while I was commuting or doing some tedious tasks like chores, and I ended up loving it so much. I will remember that book more than probably a lot of the other books that we read. Even though maybe I didn't enjoy it more, I will remember it. So here's the trick. Just try to commit in a simple way to small novelties. And for inspiration, invite your kids into the mix. I'm sure they'll have great ideas for how to make this happen for us. So the last strategy is to kind of double down. And I think the holiday season, kind of winter solstice time is a wonderful time to do this, is to double down on memory rich living experiences. So rather than being panicked about time going by so fast, we want to try to simplify our attention so that we can make each day feel richer and that we feel in closer proximity to the things that give us deeper joy and fulfillment. So, memory rich living looks like training yourself to observe and kind of settle into and feel into micro moments that feel meaningful or enjoyable to you. So, the sound of your child laughing, the first sip of coffee in the morning if you've got a quiet house, the feeling of putting on your jammies with your kids as soon as you get home after work, and that comfort and ease that can come with soft, cozy materials. Lighting candles around your house and just listening in while your kiddo is talking or playing and observing them and enjoying that and savoring it. Doing your best to gain some skills to shift out of the taskmaster to-do list that's usually in kind of like high performing that's required of us at work, and gaining some skillfulness to kind of move from that fifth gear mode down and downshift as quickly and fully as possible so that we can be in a lower gear, a little bit more memory rich, savoring the experience, rich quality of attention that would only come from a shorter gear. And for some people can shift into that gear pretty quickly. For others of us, it takes a little bit more practice and some tools. So if you need tools with that, just reach out to me. I can point you in the right direction for how to make that transition more graceful for yourself. Because the days are long. They feel long because they are long in this season of life. And the years really are short. If you're in your 40s, we're looking at like 2%, right? So it's very short. And as sad as it is to think about life moving forward and kids moving on, sometimes there is such sweetness in the present and in what is happening right now. And we don't want to miss it, right? We want to savor it, not because we're afraid of the future, but because life is meant to be lived right here, right now. And the only way to hold on to these years and develop these fulfilling, rich memories that we will cherish and remember, doesn't go all by in a blink, is by paying attention, simplifying our commitments, gaining some skills to be emotionally regulated and aligned with the present moment with your attention, and to focus on a simple, ordinary life, which isn't about adding more things to do in your day, but is about doing the things you're already doing in a way that increases presence, novelty, and rich lived memory experiences. Inside of the Vibrant Mom Collective, we explore fulfillment and presence for moms in my year-long mentorship program. We will help you create tiny but powerful rituals to make your days and years feel richer and help you kind of learn who you're growing into and evolving into as a woman in this season of your life without adding more onto your already full plate. Just practical and potent ways to feel emotionally well, experience vibrant midlife, and deeper fulfillment. If this resonates with you, check it out, join us. I'll be sure to link it in the show notes below. Let's walk this journey together this year.